Well, there's only 4 of them. I think I might take all 4. Woo! Right. Yep, we've decided that it is time to take the Brussels tops. As you can see, not huge Brussels underneath there. They are very, very small. None of them are quite as small as this one here, which I'm actually going to pull because look at the club root on that. I'll come and show you that in just a moment, but that is not a healthy chap. However, these guys here, I am going to take the Brussels top. As you can see, it looks like a giant Brussels. Do you know what I mean? Right, put him back on there. Take this one. Wonderful. And this one. There we go. 3 very gorgeous Brussels tops. But yeah, look at this chap. So in this bed we had Crispus, which was a clubroot resistant variety, which is a Brussels sprout variety, which I do believe is what these heads have come off. The plants themselves are ridiculously small because they, you know, were dug out so many times they just couldn't get established. But we've got actually something off them. The other ones, we had 2, which I think were given to us from a chap up there who doesn't have clubroot. That is the state of them. I mean, and look at the state of that root. That isn't supposed to be a bulbous root, you know, it's supposed to be feathery and long and like a normal root. That is just absolutely obscene. And then the problem is then it starts rotting out. Do you see how it's all just kind of frayed and rotten? So yeah, difference between a clubroot resistant variety. They're not immune. They will have a clubbed root underneath, but they're just that little bit more resistant to it. So you actually get something compared to this. This can't go in the compost because clubroot is soil-borne fungus. I mean, to be honest, the entire plot is absolutely covered in it. So a bit getting in the compost really isn't the end of the world because it's everywhere already. But there's no point needlessly perpetuating the horror. So I'm going to go and put this one in a bin. And we'll take these home for lunch. I was just tying up the broad beans. Actually, that was the main reason that we came up here. But some of them are just, they're looking really sturdy and they've got their one main stem. So I'm standing up straight like a broad bean. They've got their like one main stem and they look like they're just going to carry on in a really good fashion. At the moment, they're just a little bit too short to kind of, if I try and tie them in, they're going to be at an angle and then they're not going to be growing straight. So I've just tied in the ones that were a bit floppy and left the rest, and they'll be tied in when they get to that stage or when they need it. Or if we're going to be having high winds or something like that. Anyway, going to go and dispose of this. Going to go and celebrate this. Get those in there. No sightings of Lily today. No. Yeah, we've had a problem with the locks this morning. We've got 2 entrances to like this site. The one that is like the main entrance, somebody had snapped their key off in the lock this morning. So when Mum came to let the girlies out at like 8 o'clock or whatever it was, couldn't get in that way, so she's had to go all the way around the outside to the cemetery and then like up the main road and back round again. But yeah, a bit of magnet, well, a magnet and a bit of wire has sorted us out this morning, so it's back operational. That's about all we came up for, really, isn't it? Goody gumdrops. Give the girls a treat, and to be fair, they're busy eating all of our rocket at the moment. Is that good rocket, girlies? Is it good? Nom, 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 nom. Oh, you're so handsome. You're so beautiful. You are so beautiful. Yeah, gorge. Yeah, I emailed her. Ooh, it's nice and warm in here. box, Bunna? Is it box? Potatoes. Is she gonna get in? Hiya. Good afternoon. The weather is atrocious. It's not as atrocious as it is everywhere else in the country at the moment. We seem to be getting off very lightly. We've got storm, is it Irwin? I'm not sure what the name of the storm is, but it's battering large parts of the country. It's not battering us here. It's just crappy outside. It's grey and we get this occasional flurry of rain. So I'm not out there. So I've got things to do in here. And the main thing that I'm going to do is sow the sweet peppers. 2 weeks ago, it would have been about 2 weeks ago, it was like a week into January, I sowed my chili peppers. I did lemon, ají, orange habanero, sugar rush peach, stripey, and habanero aroma. Got all those ones in. I've subsequently planted a couple of cayenne and a couple of the boot jolokia. I was holding out. I'd left a bit. I sowed them in a tray just like this, and I'd left a bit at the end because I was going to put in a green chili and a red chili, like a Thai style chili, you know, like a bird's eye style chili. But then I thought, well, that's going to involve me actually going out and buying more seed. And considering I've got so much already, don't do that, Jessie. Just sow something that you've already got. You know, like cayenne, you can't go wrong with a cayenne pepper. It's like the peak, really. Particularly good for drying and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's my hot peppers out the way. But it is now closing in on the last week of January. Can't believe it's the last week of January already. But just, you know, getting past the horror of that situation, I'm going to put my sweet peppers in. There's no particular reason that I'm sowing the sweet peppers so much later than my hot peppers. It's not that they need less time or anything. It's just that my heat mat, I've only got a heat mat that's about this sort of size, and so I'm juggling space. I think the maximum germination has happened pretty much on my chilies now. I'll show you them in a second. But it's now time that I can shuffle it off. I can keep the end that I've just put the cayenne chilies still on the mat, but then this one will take up the domination of the heat zone. So it's just a bit of juggling, really. But I've made some big, bold decisions about my pepper growing this year. And the main one is that I've been thinking about how we actually use peppers. And every year I try and grow bell peppers, you know, like the bog standard, fat, wide peppers that are across every supermarket in the country. And there's two reasons that I've decided this year I'm not going to grow them. Firstly, they are across every supermarket in the country. And to be honest, even when we've grown those ones ourselves, I've never noticed a wild taste difference between the ones in the supermarket, if you buy good ones, and the ones we grow ourselves. That's the first reason. But the second reason is actually we only ever eat those in one way, and that's having them stuffed. So you just scoop out and we put mince and lots of veg and stuff, rice in them, and put them in the oven and bake them. That is pretty much the only way we eat that style of pepper. And there's 4 of us, and we would need to harvest 4 decent sized, flat bottomed, well-shaped peppers at the same time for us to actually have that dinner. And basically that's never going to happen. We would need about 9 plants on the go to kind of be able to say, right, well, we're going to pick 4 good sized peppers today. It's not going to happen. So I've decided that they're just off the menu. So I've gone for slightly more interesting ones. I'm going to do padron peppers because I've got the seed for them and I really like them. They are, you will have seen them. They're the ones that you get kind of char grilled on their own with a bit of salt and olive oil over in like a Spanish tapas bar. They go extremely well with a cold lager. They're only about this sort of size, very, very thin skinned, and they have not a great deal of seed inside them, which is why they cook them whole and you tend to eat the whole lot. Like you don't have to take all the gubbage out of the inside, and their skins just kind of flake away when you char grill them. So that is the first one that I'm going to do. I particularly like them and I have never grown them myself. I do believe Johanna grew them one year and was extremely pleased with them. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm going to do exactly the same numbers that I did of the chilies. I'm going to grow 4 of each. I really won't need 4 plants of each in the end, but things like peppers, tomatoes, all that kind of stuff, there's always someone around who would be quite happy to take one off you. And we've got, you know, various plant sales and sort of plant swaps and stuff coming up. So they're always going to find a home. And I think I'm probably, for most of these, ending up really just with one really strong plant. That's my aim. Who was that? Padron. Okay, so that's my 4 Padron peppers in there. And then, so they're really little short ones. And then I'm doing 2 other little short ones too. They're green. I'm going to do lipstick, which is a red shorty, slightly more pointed, whereas the Padron is kind of a dumpy chap, you know, like quite squat, very thin-skinned and a little bit wrinkly. The lipstick one is got much thicker flesh. It's red. It's got much more of a sort of like a proper bell pepper capsicum texture to it. And it's got a little pointy, and they're only about this big. Now, I particularly like stuffed peppers, not like the bell peppers with the mince in them, but like with the whipped feta cheese in them. And I really, really love those little tiny stuffed peppers that you get in olive oil. And these 2 varieties are absolutely prime for that. So I'm going to do 4 of these. And I'm also going to do 4 of another variety that you will have to forgive me because I've got absolutely no idea how to say it. I'll put the name on the screen. But I was very kindly sent these by a girl called Petra, and she sent me a whole selection of them, lots of long ones, which I grew quite a few of last year, or I tried to grow quite a few of last year. Obviously, we weren't that successful. But one of the ones actually that ended up in the greenhouse, growing away quite happily, was one of those. The problem with last year in my varieties is that because we had so little success and I had to keep re-sowing things, I lost track of what was what, to be honest. But these, I would just put these in and I'll show you the picture. Oh dear, what was that? That was lipstick. That's lipstick. And this is the unpronounceable one. Lovely. Now, they are a mixed red and yellow spherical pepper, and you see them in big jars across like the Middle East and Greece and stuff, and they have the chops topped off, and they're stuffed with like a mixture of sultanas and cream cheese and chilies. And my word, are they delicious when I've had them done like that. So I'm really hoping that we're going to get a plant of those and we'll be able to actually recreate that ourselves. That would be outstanding. So yeah, 3 little tiny peppers I'm doing there. Padron, lipstick, and the next 2 that I'm doing, it's called balalaika, and it is the absolute classic Turkish paprika pepper. So for making smoked paprika and paprika powder. So I'm going to be growing this one really solely for drying, and we're going to attempt to do some smoked paprika. So we actually use quite a lot of paprika in this house. And a friend of mine does tend to bring us some back from Hungary. But I'm going to have a go at growing our own, which is very exciting. I've never tried to smoke a pepper before. I mean, I've never tried to smoke a pepper, but I mean, I've never tried to smoke peppers, you know what I'm trying to say, before. So that's quite an exciting one. So it's slightly different. We won't be eating that one fresh. That's going to be solely for drying. And then 3 which are going to be for fresh eating. One of them is Murasaki Purple. I have tried to grow this one now, how many years in a row? It must be 4 probably, and not actually managed to get anything out of them. But, you know, try again. I am nothing if not determined. These are beautiful, and I've actually seen them in the flesh, not grown by me, sadly. But they are a long pepper, so slender, about, I think this is about 10 centimetres long, so it's quite big, like this, and really, really dark purple. So like proper dark purple, really lovely, with the really lovely purple flowers, dark flush on the foliage. They're supposed to be absolutely delicious. Like I say, I've seen them in the flesh. I've never actually eaten one, but this has been 4 or 5 years that I've been trying to grow them, and so I'm not giving up now. There's tons and tons of long red peppers that you can grow, you know, like the long slender one, like a bull's horn pepper, or what are they called in the supermarket? Like a Romano pepper, you know, long and skinny, but really super sweet and crunchy and red. You can pick them green as well, obviously. But I had about 4 different varieties of them. But the one that I've decided to go for is called Marconi Rosso. But looking at the descriptions of them, some of them said that they particularly require a hot summer to be grown in northern climates, which, you know, there's absolutely no guarantee that we're going to get a hot summer, or even a summer, actually, if last year was anything to go by. So these just sounded like the best bet to me, and a lot of them all look very similar. I've never tried this one before, but this is basically going to be our main pepper for the year, like proper red pepper. Marconi Rosso. Absolutely brilliant. Now you might notice that I've filled up my tray here and I've still got one left to go. That is because I'm going to go Frigatello again. In fact, when I first started this channel, Frigatello was my absolute go-to pepper. I love it. Mum loves it. It's got similar thickness of skin to the Padron peppers in the sense it's super, super thin. The flesh is really thin, but got a great flavour. And if they were stretched out, they would be long peppers like this, but they're all a bit crinkly, crunkly. They're a really lovely, like bright lime green. And I rate the flavour of this pepper so highly. And the first couple of years we did it, we had absolute, like, easy success with them. They were like the most reliable pepper that we grew. And then we've had a couple of bad years for them. And last year I didn't even get any germination. And the thing is I haven't bought new seed. This seed says sow by October 2021. It's old seed, and that's why I'm not going to sow it in my tray. What I'm going to do is tip all of the seed into this little pot and hope that something germinates. And if something germinates, then I will quickly pot it up and get it out of the pot. So I've got how many seed in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got 12 of them in there. And I'm just hoping that something germinates. There's no point me laying them out like that because I think the germination rate is going to be really, really low if anything happens, and I'd just be wasting space. So that is what I'm going to do. And I tell you what, if nothing comes up in this pot of Frigatello, I'm going to run out and I'm actually going to buy a new packet of it because I really rate this variety. Oh, that's a very hard lump. Okay. I have actually moistened my compost this time. You know, last time when I sowed those chilies, I was basically sowing it into dust. It was decent enough compost, except I'd had it in this office, just sat in, well, it was in this actually, sat in there like over the whole of the summer because once we get past a certain point, I'm not sowing anything up here. And it just sat there and it just dried out to such that as I was sprinkling it on, it was just like floating away. I've actually dampened the next lot down. Okay, so that requires a bit of a shuffle in the grow tube. So here we have the grow tube. That's something I've got to do. I've potted 2 of the cucumbers up. I potted up 1 of each, and I've still got 2 left to do actually, so I might do that now. I'll just take these out, put them up there for the minute. So I can get in here. These are the 2 that I need to pot up. I actually have the pots waiting for them there. Aubergines. Oh, we've got another one just popping up there. That's cool. So that's the Purple Night, Black Beauty and White Night. We've actually got 1 Purple Night, 3 White Nights and 3 Black Beauties going on there. And of the peppers, as you can see, almost no germination on the hot lemon or the orange habaneros, like I said, but Johanna's growing me some of those. I actually found a seed left over from my pineapple ahi that somebody gave me. There was 1 left in the packet, so I've just plonked it in there on the off chance. That one is a hot lemon. We've got the aroma habs, all 4 have come up. Sugar Rush Peach, 3 have, 1 of the stry peas, and I've only just put the cayenne and the boots in the back there. So that is the new ones going into the hottest section. Get them in for a bit of watering. Actually, I might do the watering now. Let me go and get some water. That's warm water. I'll just leave them in there actually for a minute just so they can soak up some of that. And I'll put up the cucumbers while I'm waiting for that to happen. Okay. Where are those 2 pots there? Oh, nice dead spider in that one. Still dead spider in that one. Right. As you can see, these guys have a rather long, is leggy the right word? Well, I mean, cucumbers grow in that fashion anyway. You'll find as they grow, they do. You don't get like a really nice leaf set at the bottom. They do tend to grow like they're leggy, but these ones are leggy. Because I could not believe how quickly they germinated. I sowed them the same time that I sowed the chilies, and chilies take quite a while to germinate generally. And so I tucked them all away in their heat and no lights because there was no need, nothing was up. So just hot and damp and in their little box in there. And I forgot about them. Absolutely, they just went out of my head. And about 3 days later, I poked my head in to see if anything had happened. And these guys were like this big, just with these 2 little seed leaves on the top, like, no light. So I quickly got the lights out and set the lights up. But yeah, they got a bit leggy. However, where are the 2 that I have already potted up? What have I done with them? How can they have just vanished? That's very odd. Oh, that's because I put them up high, didn't I? Yeah, so these 2, I potted these up really deep about 3 days ago, and they're looking much happier. So I'm just going to do exactly the same with these ones. When I say potted up deep, I literally didn't put any compost or like a tiny bit of compost in the bottom and planted them up to, you know, as deep as they would go into the pots. The cucumbers will, you know, grow root from their stems, so they're not going to rot off, or hopefully they're not going to rot off. I was quite careful actually. What I did do was I watered the pots first, so these bits were really wet, and then when I planted them in, I didn't actually water them in. I just let them sit there for a little while, and they've done really well. So that's what I've done. I've soaked these ones, so these are proper wet now. Take my label out. It's interesting, you can see how like the different varieties are growing already. So this one is Merlin and this one is Party Time, and they're so different. Like the Party Time is so delicate. Right, let's not drop soil all over the keyboard. I've had enough trouble with that keyboard this morning already. I linked it to my iPad so that I could use the proper keypad for the iPad, because I prefer that keyboard to the you know, like the flip down one that comes with the iPad inside the case. I linked it to that, and then could I unlink it? No. I turned off Bluetooth entirely, you know, disconnected it, turned it on, turned it off, did everything you're supposed to do. It would not connect to this, and this computer hasn't got any other method of input. It's only got the keyboard. So I was just like, it's just a screen. So that was good. Anyway, it did eventually connect. I've got no idea why it had a tantrum about it, but it was extremely annoying. I think the universe was telling me I need to get a second keyboard rather than keep shuffling them about. Actually, I tell you what, I really want one of those clunkety keyboards, you know, like one that you proper type on. I was using Mum's computer the other day to do something for her, to do something with these vouchers, and she's got her computer's actually pretty new, we only got it recently, but she's got the old keyboard, and it's one of those ones where the keys are really high up, you know, like an Apple one. They're practically just like flat and you can't really feel them. This is like an old school 90s Microsoft one where it's like clunk, clunk, clunk. It's like part keyboard, part typewriter. I really liked it. I think I'm going to get myself one of those for in here and use that for the iPad. Anyway, that was completely irrelevant information. I'm sure you're utterly uninterested in what kind of keyboard I'm using. Cucumbers potted up. Okay, so these don't need that much heat, so they're going to be right on this end here. I mean, they need to be warm, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be turfing them outside or anything, but they don't need to be on like the proper hot section. Let's get these on the edge here. This will also, because they're the taller pots, will also provide a nice little barrier, because this is the open end of my tube. I've got my little hook here, and that goes up, and then all the heat in there. So that's now watered. That's good. Let's get that one on there. That's nice. That's nice. Let's put this one. 2 trays don't fit in there. How annoying is that? Let's do that. I was trying to avoid actually setting up a second one of these. I was going to try and keep it so that's all I needed, but I realised that's absolutely wishful thinking. But that's all right for the moment. These are all germinated. The ones on that side that aren't are the ones on the heat mat. They're soaking up the water. Cucumbers are in. Was that everything? I don't know. Okay, well, we'll just leave it. I'm sure I'll find whatever I'm missing soon enough. So yeah, yesterday, you may have seen right at the end of the day, it was pretty dark by then, so I wasn't going to film it properly. But we got the potatoes arrived. Do you remember when I said that they were doing when Ian was doing the pre-order from Grown Local? And he had some really good varieties. In fact, because you know I normally go to Chapman's, which is that shop in Twickenham, where they have all of the potato varieties. They have loads of different varieties, but what's so handy about that, it's close, but also because they sell them by weight, you don't have to buy a whole bag of them. And I've ordered these off Ian. And this year, I can tell you, I will be providing potatoes across my allotment site. I've already contacted everybody I know who likes the same type of potatoes that I do, because I've got 2.5 kilos of each variety and I ordered 4 varieties. That is, considering we normally only buy 6 of each potato and go with that, so we've got about 30 of each this time, which is fantastic. And actually I've already got a whole load of takers for them. And the varieties that we chose were, the 2 first earlies were Caledonian Pearl and Red Duke of York. Now, Red Duke of York, every year I grow that one. I absolutely love it. 2 years ago we did Caledonian Pearl. It was an absolute gem. Really delicious potato. They didn't have it at Chapman's last year. They'd had it the year before, so that's when we got it. Last year they didn't have that one. So I was really excited to see that Ian was stocking that one. They're my 2 first earlies, and they will go in one bed together. And then I've got 2 main crop varieties, which are Kerr's Pink and Caledonian Rose. So both of them like a slightly pink colour. But yeah, well impressed. The potatoes look absolutely excellent. I couldn't believe the size of the box that they came in. Mum was like, "What have you ordered now?" It wasn't me. It's potatoes, I promise. Yeah, so we've got there's about 10 of us who are going to be having these potatoes. But yeah, we are growing them all outside this year. Or not outside, but I mean in the beds, in the ground itself, rather than in bags. We had a terrible time growing them in bags and pots. It's partly our fault, and partly just I don't think it works that well. I know some people have wild success with it, but I think you have to be really on it with them. We had a terrible time with slugs when we grew them in bags, because how we did it, we used compost bags and we rolled down the edges so that they were a good pot shape, looked like it was going to work brilliantly. Turns out inside those rolls is like the perfect slug environment, and so they just got decimated, worse than decimated. It just got eaten off completely, and then by the time we dug the actual potatoes out, the potatoes themselves had been slugged, which was a real shame. And we had drainage issues. Half of the pots we didn't appear to water at all and the other half we watered too much. So yeah, it wasn't that successful, but the ones that we grew back in the ground last year, fantastic, fuss-free, really easy. That's good. And we're going to just grow them in 2 beds, and it's going to be a first earlies bed and a main crop bed, so that we don't have to faff about which ones we're supposed to be digging up when. It's just, I think that's all I needed to do in here, which is quite exciting. I'm going to carry on doing a bit of seed sorting. That's what I was doing. That's why I was trying to get the keyboard to work earlier. I'm just working my way through the seeds that we do and do not want to grow this year, because we've got this like local seed swap coming up. It's an actual in-person one rather than, I did a internet-based one a couple of years back now. Oh, it's probably about 4 years ago, considering we're on year 5. But I did one online, which was like a pen pal kind of seed swapping, which did work quite well. But this is actually going to be like an in-person one for this local area, and it's around the end of February, beginning of March. So I'm going through the seeds that I do want to sow. I'm getting rid of ones which are really out of date, and I'm just putting ones aside that I know that I'm not going to have a chance to grow but are still in date and still good seed, getting them ready to go to the seed swap. The weather is going to be wildly improved tomorrow, according to the weather forecast. Whether we believe them or not, I don't know, but hopefully it's going to be really beautiful and sunny, and Mum and I are going to be doing the great big bird watch thingy-bobby. So we'll see you there. Afternoon. We have been waiting for a break in the weather pretty much all day. And actually it's been chucking it down. It's been grey and dark, and every time I thought it was getting better, it actually just started getting worse. But now look, we have blue skies. So hopefully the birds have also realised that we've got blue skies and they're going to come out for some food. First bird. You are first bird. You are first bird. Bird, but also excellent wildlife here. Hi, Nils. Oh. We're going to repurpose this little table thing to lay out the birdseed on, but I was just like, there's a really big space here. What's missing? The swing seats back in the neighbour's allotment. So what I'm going to do is just spread this out on here and see who comes. See if anybody comes down for it. Mum is cold and not feeling the bird watching today. So I've set the camera up. I think Mum and I are going to go and hide in the shed, because otherwise she might freeze to death. But I can see robins over there. I'm going to just leave the camera on the table we've just put the birdseed and see what happens. Got some seed, Robin? currently having a bit of a, yeah, it's not going so well. I'll show you why. Only a very stupid bird would come to feed at this bird table. Lily, what are you doing? That's not a decent place to sit when we're trying to spot birdies. It's not. No. Because they'll see you and know that you're going to eat them. You're going to get the birdies. You don't want that. No. Not good, Lils. You stay right out the way. Come in the shed with us. Come in the shed. Go in the shed. Come on. No, not interested. So yeah, we're seeing lots of birds, but they're mainly like in the trees rather than coming down here, sensible chaps. Loads of parakeets. Loads of parakeets. You can just hear them darting around all over the place. Oh, look. We have another crow sat on top of the arch. Hello, handsome beast. Oh, it's a seagull. The seagull just went over the top of us. One seagull. I don't think I've ever seen a seagull up here before. Did you? Girlies, where's all the birdies? Where's all the birdies? Huh? Yeah, no, where are they? There must be a very, very strong headwind up there, or wind, because the planes are coming in sideways, and yet down here it doesn't seem... Look at them, they're coming in like surfing style. Lots of birds in the sky. They are crows. Two more crows over there. There's two crows flying around over there. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 seagulls. I don't think I've ever seen a seagull up here before, and like, it's just suddenly there's hundreds of them. Another 12 just went past. We've made an executive decision. I think we're going to go home. We've been up here about 40 minutes, but we're absolutely freezing, and no birds are coming down. Lily's here. The chickens are trying to get the feed off the tables. Not very successful. We might have to repeat it in the back garden, but it won't be over the the designated weekend. But yeah, it's just really cold. It's really, really cold. Mum's got her fingers on the burner. Oh, right, let me go and just... Yep, good call was made. Here comes the rain. Oh, back in the warm. I'm choosing you with a cup of tea because it is needed. This is a very, very necessary cup of tea. Got really chilly at the end. When we first got up there, it was fine, cold, but the sun was kind of out. It was blue skies, And then just as the sun dipped behind the school at the back, suddenly the temperature absolutely plummeted. So cold. And we only got slightly damp though. We chose exactly the right moment to leave, because just as we were coming down that path, it was like bling, blong, bling, blong. Yeah, we didn't get too wet. Yesterday, I was out in Twickenham, went for a walk around the back of the stadium. And not a very nice place to go for a walk, I'll give you. It was pretty concrete jungle, but oh God, I got absolutely drenched to the bone. Obviously, I had to go to the pub to warm up afterwards. Yes, cup of tea today. But yeah, so bird watching, not enormously successful. I couldn't shoo Lily away because it just makes me too sad to shoo her away. She just really likes company. So like as soon as anybody's up there, and we were the only people up there, normally I would have just sent her off to go and sit with somebody else, but we were the only people stupid enough to be up there this afternoon, and I just felt too mean shooing her away. So yeah, the birds were understandably not keen to come down, but we could see lots, like in the distance, and you could hear lots. Like, so we saw, at the same time, we saw 4 robins, because they all nest in that, we've got like an old honeysuckle that's all like tumble over behind the greenhouse, and that is just alive with robins in there. Yeah, and then there's always crows, magpies, that kind of thing. We saw all of them because obviously they are not afraid of Lily, but everybody else stayed away, unfortunately. But, you know, I'll still put the results in, and what I think I might do is on a day when we go up and Lily's not around, we'll just have another go at it and see if we can film some nice bird action. But yeah, I'm going to go and put a duvet on, I think. Cup of tea does solve a lot of problems though, doesn't it? Oh yes. So, cheers chaps. I will see you next week. It is thank you, as always, to my patrons, who are the people whose names you see at the end of this vlog and who watch this on a Monday. And cheers to everybody else. I hope you have an excellent week. I hope nobody had too much damage from Storm Irwin. I'm sure it was Irwin. I saw some terrible stuff on Instagram. Polytunnels coming a cropper like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, I hope you didn't get too much damage. And I will see you next week. Cheers, chaps. It's going to be February next week. Woo!